Over 1 million Porsche 911s have been built since their introduction in 1963 as a replacement for the then ageing 356. So what makes just 1,580 of them by far the most revered among collectors? Welcome to the Porsche Carrera 2.7 RS. It's not the fastest, lightest, most rare, victorious, or even the prettiest of coveted collector cars in its class, and yet, while other cars might excel in one or two of these areas, the magic of the 2.7 RS is that it shines so brightly in all. In 1971, motorsport's governing body, the FIA, recategorised Group 4 for special grand touring cars, and they required that manufacturers build 500 units within a year in order to be homologated and therefore accepted into its races. You know the old adage, win on Sunday, sell on Monday? Well, it particularly applied to production sports cars at the time, and Porsche knew it. They wanted Group 4 success, and the 911 in its existing form simply wasn't cutting it. A major iteration of their flagship model was required. Despite the huge investment required, Porsche's board nervously approved the project and were astonished to find all 500 cars sold within a week of launch. And this is what they were buying: the Carrera 2.7 RS. Customers loved the flared wheel arches, the Bürzel or ducktail rear spoiler, and the deep front chin and splitter. They particularly liked the bold Carrera script down the flank, which Porsche applied to honour their successes in the 1950s Mexican Panamericana road races. Meanwhile, the wider wheels, bigger brakes and stiffened suspension helped manage the 210 brake horsepower now on offer from the enlarged, naturally aspirated, air-cooled flat-six engine. All of this in a pared-down, competition-focused car weighing 1,000 or so kilograms. Now, once each individual unit had been inspected and weighed by the homologation authorities while wearing a particularly saucy kit of super lightweight components, they were then rebuilt and offered to the public in one of two forms: lightweight or touring. The difference between the two was actually quite negligible. The touring was a little more comfortable for regular road use, while the lightweight, with its slightly thinner steel panelling and slightly thinner glass, more basic interior, weighed in 100 kilograms lighter. Regardless, both were competitively campaigned in races, rallies and hill climbs, and very successfully so. This is a 2.7 RS Touring, which was the more popular of the two variants offered. And this is just one of 90 right-hand drive examples ever built. A lot of options were offered to buyers, many of which this car features, including electric windows, a sliding sunroof, even the driver's door mirror. Obviously I'm not timing today, but it should be capable of 0 to 60 miles an hour in around about 6.3 seconds with a top speed of 150 or so miles per hour. It's a little heavier than perhaps it should be because the steering wheel's been replaced in this car for what I think is a much more attractive Prototipo 3-spoke wheel, which differs somewhat in design and size from the original. It's so important when you're trying to decide whether or not a car is any good to do so in the context of an appropriate kind of road. These are fast third and fourth gear, gentle turns that feed directly into one another, and they really suit the 2.7 RS. Earlier on we were driving on some tighter second and first gear cornered roads with quite a lot of bumps and lumps for the car to leap over. The slightly softer suspension of this car really accommodated those well, giving it a lot of compliance, a lot of traction, a lot of grip. But now that the road has opened up and I can really pick up the rolling speed, gather the momentum, I feel like the car's just coming into its own. Lovely. The thing is, that rear-mounted engine can create a huge amount of pendulum if you carry too much speed into the corner. So the key I'm finding is just use the brake pedal a bit earlier than normal, get the speed out of the car long before the turning point, and then just tweak the brake pressure that you need to get the nose into your apex. Keep a little bit of weight on the front end. So you're using the brake pedal in that instance more as a weight management device, not, and critically, as a speed reduction device. And by doing that, I can add throttle mid-corner, just let the rear brake traction and slide a little bit through the exit. 210 horsepower was quite an exciting amount at the time for this car that was bored out obviously to 2.7 litres for the first time thanks to those Nickersill line cylinders. But I would say that so capable actually is the chassis that it could handle more power, which of course later on we did go on to develop with the 3-litre RSR. That's the one thing I wish this car had, was a limited slip differential, because just when you get the perfect greasy hairpin turn, get excited about lighting up the rear and power sliding out, it just spins that inside wheel, which a limited slip diff would go a long way toward eliminating. But otherwise it just feels lovely. It's so engaging, so connected, so intoxicating, but critically it's a comfortable one. I drove 5 hours to get here yesterday and I barely felt like I'd been on the road at all, and that is the beauty of this car, and that is why I remember going to Silverstone years and years ago for historic race weekends, which is the home of the British Racing Drivers Club, the car park of which is often peppered on Sundays with 2.7 RSs. It's getting wet. Feels good though in the rain. Just a little looser, a nice balance, nice and progressive. Now this was the first of Porsche's cars to be blessed with the RS badge, which means Rennsport, loosely translated as racing sport, which clearly signals Porsche's intentions for the car. And competitive from the off as it was, whips the later, faster, wider, more powerful RSR version that really did win the big trophies in the competition stakes. It took class wins in the Targa Florio and in the Sebring 12 Hour, but it was the astonishing outright win at Daytona's 24 Hour that really earned the RSR its place in any motorsport Hall of Fame roll call for the greatest cars ever campaigned. And in my opinion, that makes this the road car from which that racer was derived, arguably one of the greatest homologation specials of all time.